Hello class, this is Mr. Neugebauer. I'll be helping you out through this section. So go ahead and go to page 209 in your book. It should look like this at the top. It should say Lesson 5, Graph a Line Using Intercepts. Okay? Now, the great thing about these problems is that there's usually a situation to follow that the graph should hopefully make sense with if you kind of understand the graph, understand the situation. So here's our situation today. We're at the movies. It says Mrs. Hodges spent $80 on movie tickets and drinks for her son and his friends. The total cost, X movies, so that's our variable there, X movies, tickets, and Y drinks is represented by the equation 8x plus 4y equals 80. Here it says complete the steps below to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Now slope-intercept form, if you remember, is the y equals mx plus b form, because m is slope, b is your y-intercept, so that's how we get the name slope-intercept form. Okay? So what we notice first here is that our y is on the left side, just like it is here, but our x is over here, and for it to be y equals mx plus b form, we need to move this x over. So how do we move over a positive 8x? We subtract 8x over. Okay? Once we do that, we then kind of simplify, and we have 4y equals the 80 minus 8x. After that, we notice that we need y by itself for y equals mx plus b form. So here y is being multiplied by 4. How do we get rid of multiplying by 4? We divide by 4. So that means we have to divide that side by 4. So we get left with y equals 80 divided by 4. We have 20. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. So don't forget the minus is a negative. Okay. Now, what we notice is y equals, we don't have mx plus b here. What we have is like the b followed by the mx. Okay. So we need to flip the order. So we need to basically move this that way and this over there. The constant number always goes last. Now you have to be very careful here, because here, notice the 20, is it positive or negative? It's positive, so we need to have a plus 20 here. But then this 2x, what's in front of the 2? It's a minus, which treats that then like a negative. So it's negative 2x. Common mistake there would simply be putting down 2x instead of negative 2x. So you really have to pay attention if that right there is a plus or a minus, meaning positive or negative, for when you flip those when you have to. Okay? Now it's telling us graph the equation. Well, we've already learned how to graph this, so we look at our y-intercept. How are we going to graph that? Okay? Well, we look, where does it cross the y-axis? That's our up and down axis. It crosses at 20, so you should just make a dot here, right at 20. Then what's our slope? It's negative 2, which is actually negative 2 over what? Over 1. Remember, rise over run, so negative 2 means down 2. We're still running forward 1. So we would go down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. And as we do that, we will go down 2 over 1. Notice these are going by 4s, and these are going by 4s. So if I want to accurately go down 2 and over 1, I'm going to actually go down 8 and then over 4. So this pattern here would be like a down 8 over 4. Okay? And then that should run you right into the x-axis at about halfway. And then make it, if you have a ruler or a straight edge, make a nice, neat, straight, linear line. Just like that. Okay? Now here's what it says. What does the point 0, 20 represent? Well, 0, 20, we got to think, okay, what's the y? What's the x? So the point 0, 20, what's what? It says x is movie tickets. Okay? X is the number of movie tickets. So right here, we haven't moved forward along the x-axis at all. So far, X is the number of movie tickets. What Miss Hodges has done here is if this point here, she's bought 0 tickets and 20 drinks, and that's what she has money for. So hey, you can have all the pop you want, but you know what? You're not seeing a movie. Is to where if we go here, she could buy 4 tickets and 12 drinks. So, if you have a small group of friends, 4 of you could go to the movies, and then, all of you could get just all the drinks you could possibly want, okay? Or over here, at like 10, they could buy 10 tickets, but no drinks. So that's basically what that line represents. So what does the point 020 represent? I would put something like no tickets and, 20 drinks. Something like that, all right? Okay, go ahead and turn the page. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this y-intercept and x-intercept. So our x-intercept, remember, that's one of your vocab words. That is where a line crosses, if you look here, the x-intercept is where a line crosses the x-axis, like in this picture right here. So this point right here is the x-intercept. We're going to look at solving for the x-intercept, okay? So if we look here, it says, state the y and x-intercept of y equals 1.5x minus 9, then use the intercepts to graph the equation, okay? So look at step 2. It says to find the x-intercept, let y equal 0. Now I'm going to give you a key thing you probably want to write out to the side here, okay? To find y int, that means y-intercept, to find y-int, x equals 0. Okay, period. So to find the y-intercept, you make x 0. Okay? Then, another star underneath, to find x-int for x-intercept, y has to equal 0. So basically, whichever one you want to find, you make the opposite one 0. In this case here, it says, let's find the x-intercept, so let y be 0. So in this equation, y equals 1.5x plus negative 9. They made that 0. Then they solved. So what do we do to get x by itself? Well, we first have to add 9 to get rid of subtracting 9. So that moved it right over here. I don't like the book here because it didn't show all their work. So those cancel. And then 0 plus 9 is 9. So we have 9 equals 1.5x. So then we divide each by 1.5. Those cancel. You're left with x. 9 divided by 1.5 is 6. So x equals 6. Then from there, we can graph because we know where it's going to cross the x-intercept is right here at 6. Okay? Then, from there, we know the rise over run. It's up 1.5 over 1. Up 1.5 over 1. So we have that point, that point, that point, and then you can also go backwards. If you're going up 1.5 and over 1, you can then go back. You can go back 1, down 1.5, back 1, down 1.5, back 1, down 1.5, and you get that line. Okay? So let's take a look at A. Let's try to solve this one. Make sure you're showing your work. So for A here, I'm going to have y equals, write down the original problem, negative 1/3 x plus 5. Okay? And I'm going to try to find my y-intercept. Okay? I want to find y. So that means I have to make x 0. So this turns into y equals, and this is how to correctly show your work, 1/3 times what? Well, if I want to find the y-intercept, what do I have to make x? 0. So I multiply by 0 plus 5. So y equals, what's negative 1/3 times 0? Just 0. So we have 0 plus 5. Then y equals 0 plus 5 is 5. So I know my y-intercept over here is going to be 5. So I'm going to make my line let's see, it's 2, 4, it's going up by 2s. Always be aware of how much your graph is going up by in every direction. So it's going up by 2, so 2, 4, that's 6, 5's in the middle. Be very careful when you graph these to know where these numbers are at, how much you're going up and down by. So there's my y-intercept. Then I'm going to look at my slope, okay? My slope is negative 1/3, meaning down 1, the negative usually goes to the top, down 1 over 3. So I'm going to go down 1 over, we're going by 2's here as well, so down 1 over 2, there's 3. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Down 1 over 2, and then 3. So we should have a straight line that's going about like that and is halfway between the 14 and that. Now I want to show you how this works, because if you wanted to find the x-intercept, I could do the same thing and just find the x-intercept with math by making the y 0. So I could have 0 equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. Notice I left the x to find the x-intercept. I make y 0, so then I just do math. I subtract the 5 over. I have negative 5 equals negative 1/3 x. I divide by negative 1/3, which gives me then a positive 15 equals x. And if we look at our graph here, where are we crossing the x-axis? Right here at 15. So we know we made a good line. All right? Feel free to do B on your own. Go ahead, stop the video. Try B on your own right now. If you did B correctly, you should have a dot here, and then a dot here, with a line connecting those, okay? It should have crossed at 3 on the y-intercept, and then you got a 2 for your x-intercept. All right, let's go to the next page. Here it talks about standard form. This is also a vocab word. You need to make sure you have written down standard form. It's the form ax plus by equals c. You can still kind of see how this is similar to y equals mx plus b. Here's your y, here's your x, and then c is your b, your constant number. They've kind of replaced that, but this c is the constant number, okay? So, same basic way we solve here. We solve this very similar to the way we did before. It's all about finding intercepts. So it says Madeline Middle School wants to make $4,740 from yearbooks. So they want to make money from selling yearbooks. It says print yearbooks X cost $60. So normal yearbooks cost $60 and digital yearbooks cost $15. This can be represented in the equation. 60 times X, the normal yearbooks, plus 15 times Y, the digital yearbooks, will equal this amount. So it's wanting to know, hey, how much do you have to sell of each to be able to make that happen? Well, let's say they sold 0 of the digital yearbooks. How many regular yearbooks would they need to sell? Well, we plug in a 0 for the Y, the digital yearbooks, solve, we find out we get an answer of 79, okay? So that's why this is right there, okay? Then what if we sell all digital and no regular yearbooks? How many of just digital would we need to sell to get there? Well, in that case, we plug in a 0 for this, like we did here, solve, and you get y equals 316, which is right there. So they'd have to sell 316 of those yearbooks, or 80 of the regular yearbooks to make their mark, or notice this line. This line represents everything in between. What are the chances of, all the kids in the school getting the exact same type of yearbook? Not very good. So this line shows basically, hey, we could sell 20 regular yearbooks, if you look here, 20 regular yearbooks. Well, how many digital yearbooks then would we need to sell? If we sell 20 regular ones, we would need to sell just under 250 regular yearbooks, maybe 240, okay? Or hey, what if we sell 60 regular yearbooks? We look at the line, oh, now we only have to sell, well, probably about close to 60 digital yearbooks, okay? So that's how that line can be helpful. So let's look at the next problem. It says, Mr. Davies spent $250 on lunch for his class. Sandwiches X cost $6 and drinks cost $2. This can be represented by the equation 6x plus 2y equals 230. Use the x and y intercepts to graph the equation, then intercept the intercepts. So, out to the side, I'm going to write that equation. 6x plus 2y equals 230. Now this doesn't say, hey, he got everyone sandwiches and no drinks, or all drinks and no sandwiches, but those are the possibilities. He could spend this $230 however he wants. So I'm first going to find my y-intercept, and to do that I'm going to make x 0. So I underneath go 6 times 0 plus 2y, because I'm leaving the y, I want to find it, equals 230. Well, 6 times 0 is 0. That's nothing. So I'm basically just left with 2y equals 230. So then I divide by 2, I get y equals 115. So that means my y-intercept, my up and down, is at 115, so I'm going to go right here. There's 100, there's 120. In the middle, it's 110. So the middle between that and the top is right there. So this right there is about 115. So that means, what's y? Y is the $2 drinks. So that means he could buy 115 drinks and no sandwiches, because we haven't moved along here at all. Well, now let's take a look and solve for the x. So I'm going to rewrite it. 6x, and then I want to find x, the sandwiches. So now I'm going to make the y 0. To find the x-intercept, you make the opposite thing 0. Okay, equals 230. 2 times 0 is 0, so it's nothing. So we're left basically with 6x equals 230. I divide each side by 6. You get x equals, and I actually have to use my calculator for that one. So let's see here. 230, oops. 230 divided by 6 equals 38.3 repeating. So we could basically buy 38 sandwiches. So if I look here, 30, 35, 40, right down here, 38 is right about there. So then I'll get a straight edge, connect your dots, and there you go. All right, which means he could buy like 10 sandwiches. Remember, your x is your sandwiches, so he could do 10 sandwiches and then 80 drinks. Or he could do 25 sandwiches and, like maybe just under 40, 25 sandwiches and maybe like 38 drinks. So anything along this line will meet those requirements, okay? So this is the rate of change. All right. And that is it. So look over that. Come to class tomorrow, ready to learn. See you guys then.